Welcome to This Explainer. We're skipping the usual intro today because we are jumping right in to frame the massive, literally continent-spanning scale of the 2026 FIFA World Cup across North America. I mean, really, are you truly prepared for the biggest World Cup ever? We are talking about an unprecedented 16-city event. And look, this isn't just about what happens on the grass. We're going to dive into the deep analytics, the frankly daunting logistics of moving millions of fans, and the very real global friction happening completely off the pitch. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. First, the data-driven superstars. Second, planning your match day. Third, transit hacks and logistics. And finally, off-pitch geopolitical controversies. We are getting a full 360-degree primer here. Part 1, the data-driven superstars. To kick this off, we've got to highlight Northeastern University's Network Science Institute and their absolute deep dive into over 3,400 distinct events per match. Based on that fascinating research, we've pinpointed the 12 key players to watch across 4 crucial impact categories: overall threat, goal scoring, defensive contribution, and dribbling. And guys, this data goes far, far beyond your traditional goals and assists. It pinpoints exactly how these individuals alter the entire shape of a game. To really get what makes these players tick, we need to define 2 concepts: on-ball value and XG, or expected goals. These are the advanced metrics that turn casual fans into actual soccer insiders, right? Expected goals basically judges a player on the quality of their scoring chances based on things like distance and angle. On-ball value, though, quantifies how much a player's subtle, sometimes completely invisible actions actually increase their team's probability of scoring on a given possession. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between 2 absolute legends of the game. Look at Lionel Messi. His on-ball value is just staggering because he threads these incredibly incisive through balls right from the middle. Even his most subtle moments have huge implications for a play's success. Compare that to Erling Haaland. Haaland dominates the XG metric through brute force, high-probability finishing. He is constantly getting behind defensive lines into elite scoring positions. Now, if you're watching the backline, definitely keep your eyes on Croatia's Luka Vučković. The guy has this unique knack for snuffing out pressure before it ever even becomes a real chance. Up front, Spain's Lamine Yamal boasts an elite 2.30 on-ball value, just constantly driving into dangerous areas. Oh, and for sure watch out for Ivory Coast's Yan Diomande. He roams the entire pitch and is expected to be one of the tournament's most coveted unsigned talents. Moving on to part 2, planning your match day. Let's shift gears to the practical reality of actually catching these games. Obviously, the ultimate prize is the FIFA World Cup trophy, literally the absolute pinnacle of global sports. It is so important to establish just how premium and sought after this tournament is before we look at the insanely dense schedules you're going to have to navigate if you want to see it in person. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the staggering density of the group stage matchups. I mean, they are packed back-to-back, happening every single day from June 11th all the way through June 27th. And they're bouncing across 16 different host cities. It is quite literally a daily marathon of football. If you're planning on watching from the comfort of your couch, here's your essential logistical takeaway. Matches will be broadcasting across Fox, FS1, Telemundo, and Universo. And the whole shebang culminates with the grand finale on July 19th at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Definitely mark your calendars for that one. All right, part 3, transit hacks and logistics. Solving the transit puzzle across 16 massive North American cities is a very daunting task. And hey, if you have transit anxiety about this, trust me, it is completely validated. Just listen to this advice sourced directly from real fans on the Reddit World Cup mega thread. They say rideshare may look easy on paper, but matchday congestion can make it worse than transit. Seriously, relying on an Uber or Lyft right around the stadiums before kickoff or after the final whistle, it is going to be an absolute nightmare. So, how do you actually beat the traffic? Well, here is your snappy insider survival guide for a few key cities. In Seattle, rely on the Link light rail right to Lumen Field. In Philly, the broad street line to NRG Station is going to be your best friend. In Vancouver, just grab the SkyTrain to BC Place. The overarching strategy for every single host city: stay on the rails for as long as possible to avoid that street gridlock. Now, if you're heading to the final at MetLife Stadium in NY/NJ, pay very close attention to this because this will absolutely not be a normal arrival procedure. First, you're going to take NJ Transit to Secaucus Junction. Second, you must transfer to an official matchday shuttle. And finally, and this is critical, guys, you have to pre-book that mandatory $20 shuttle ticket early. The entire system is highly controlled and designed strictly for match ticket holders, so don't get caught out. Part 4. Off-pitch geopolitical controversies. Shifting to a more serious note, looking at the overarching global issues impacting the tournament. Right now, a stark 39 countries face travel bans under United States immigration policies. This heavily impacts ordinary fans who are just trying to obtain visas from participating World Cup nations. We're talking about countries like Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, and Senegal. There was also a massive financial hurdle. Initially, a visa bond program required fans from 5 African nations to pay deposits of up to $15,000 just to enter. Now, to be perfectly neutral here, it is important to note that this requirement was temporarily suspended in May 2026 for ticketed fans, but it still stands as a really clear example of the intense administrative complexities surrounding this event. And this border enforcement friction, it hasn't just affected the fans in the stands. It has objectively disrupted the tournament's own players and officials. For example, Iraqi striker Ayman Hussein was detained for 7 hours upon arrival at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Even more extremely, Somali referee Omar Ertan was denied entry entirely, which left him completely unable to officiate at the tournament. Let's move to and see how this builds, specifically looking at the timeline of the Iranian national team's geopolitical hurdles. Following an attack on Iran by the U.S. and Israel on February 28, 2026, the team's training base actually had to be relocated from Arizona all the way down to Mexico in the spring. Then, by June, portions of their coaching and administrative staff were denied visas, and the team's ticket allocations were revoked just days before the tournament began. So, taking a step back, this World Cup is obviously far more than just a series of soccer games. It's this massive, fascinating intersection of elite, data-driven sports, intense local city logistics, and of course, inescapable global politics, all colliding right here on the North American stage. Which really leaves us with this final, provocative thought to ponder. When that referee's whistle finally blows, will the focus remain squarely on the superstars on the pitch, or will the daunting logistics and the heavy political controversies ultimately steal the show? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and enjoy the tournament.